Hey guys, what's up? It's Snake here, and today we're going to be doing an episode that's part of my series of video games that don't exist but should. And today we're going to take a trip back in time, back to the Middle Ages, back to the Crusades, back to the predecessor of the Illuminati and the Freemasons and other secret societies. And of course I'm talking about the Knights Templar. Now these guys, let's say we're at the end of the First Crusades, and the Christians just took control of Jerusalem from the Muslims. Well, there's plenty of Christians now in Europe that want to make the trek to go check out Jerusalem, but it's still a very volatile area, even though the Christians are in control of it. So this group starts to emerge, calling themselves the Poor Knights of Christ and the Temple Solomon, and this is the beginning of the Knights Templar. Now these guys are here set up as protection to protect people that are making the journey, but of course they aren't traveling these trade routes just dealing with protection. As time goes on, they start to get involved in trade itself, as well as banking. I mean, we wouldn't have modern day banking today if it wasn't for the Knights Templar. So we start to see these guys begin to get very wealthy, and to sort of add to that, the church sanctions them as a group, as a holy group that's part of the church. Not directly part of the church, but sort of autonomous. However, they no longer have to pay taxes because of this, and they don't have to abide by any rules of any local governments or any kingdoms. They report directly to the Pope himself. So they really kind of have carte blanche to do whatever they want. And obviously, because they're backed by the church, they're starting to get a lot of donations, charity and things like that. They're given land. I mean, these guys, at their high point, they owned an entire fleet of ships that would traverse the Mediterranean. They owned their own island, the island of Cyprus. These guys were extremely wealthy, not just of earthly means, like with treasures and money and things like that, but also in the religious sense. I mean, these guys owned a lot of relics. Well, or supposedly owned, I should say, a lot of relics, like a part of the original cross, the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, the Shroud of Turin. They even had the head of John the Baptist. So these guys had a lot of relics, had all different things. I mean, they were very popular, very famous. And of course, finally, eventually, as all things, their popularity began to wane at the end of the Fourth Crusade, when they made some bad mistakes in battle and things like that. One of the very big battles at the end of the Fourth Crusade, their loss was attributed directly to the Crusaders, or to the, I should say, to the Knights Templar. And so they ended up falling from grace, and King Philip of France ended up sending out all his guys to capture as many of the Templars as they could. They ended up capturing something like only 10%. But they were, of course, all tried for heresy and witchcraft and sodomy and all this weird, crazy stuff, you know, worshipping a head. Remember, of course, I said they had the head of John the Baptist. So you know, they were being attacked, and they went into hiding, and a bunch of them disappeared, and nobody knows what happened to them. Now, of course, I was thinking, well, why not we make a video game where you are a Knights Templar? But we have to add a little bit of spice to it. And I was watching this thing about the Knights Templar on TV, and they were talking about the Knights Templar in movies. You know, they were in the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. They talk about them in National Treasures 1 and 2. But there were two, in particular, Italian films that caught my eye over everything else. And these were zombie films. Zombie movies where the Knights Templar were actually zombies. And so I thought to myself, well, that would be an awesome video game if you were a Knights Templar fighting zombies. And obviously that's not exactly what the movies were about, but you know, I'm taking artistic license here and creating this video game. So my idea, at least, is the video game starts out, story-wise, when all of the knights are getting captured by King Philip of France. And the interesting thing about that, actually, is that the orders go out, and the knights are captured on the morning of Friday the 13th of October, 1307. So that's actually why, that's the real reason why Friday the 13th is considered unlucky by everybody, pretty much, is because of what happened to the Knights Templar on that day. So this is the day that our story is starting, and so you have to go into hiding, you have to escape the French authorities, and you make your way across the Mediterranean, stopping in all of these trade locations on your way to Jerusalem to uncover this conspiracy, figure out what's going on, why are y'all being accused of witchcraft, and all of this stuff, because obviously if you're the main character and you're a Knights Templar, you can't be a bad guy. Well, maybe you could, but I don't know. Anyway, you're trying to figure out what's going on, what's the deal with this witchcraft and stuff like that. And one of the masters, because obviously there's a Grand Master, and he's the guy in charge of all of the Knights Templar, but then they have Masters, which are like the next slot down, and they're in charge of all the Knights Templar in their country. So one of the Masters ends up starting to get involved in witchcraft, and he's collecting all of these evil relics. And so he ends up figuring out a way to bring the dead back to life. And so that's what's going on. That's why the Knights Templar were being captured and persecuted and tortured and all this stuff. And so your journey is taking you across the Mediterranean, where you're putting clues together, chasing after the Master, trying to figure out what his next move is, where he's going, and trying to figure out how to stop him. And of course, along the way, you're acquiring all of these different good relics. Like the part of the cross and the Holy Grail and the Shroud of Turin and stuff like that, to help you in your journey to kill all the zombies and defeat the Master. And of course, we could even have some kind of crazy Raiders of the Lost Ark type ending where you rip open the Ark of the Covenant and it sucks all the zombies in, and everybody's excited because you saved the day. But of course, after you kill the Master, you realize how great the evil is, and it obviously needs to be guarded for the rest of eternity. So you and the remaining Knights Templar all pledge to protect it for all eternity. So that explains actually what happens in real life to the Knights Templar, why they disappear without a trace, is because they're actually protecting the world from the ever-impending zombie menace. But of course, as far as the game goes, I figure it could be something kind of like Red Dead Redemption zombie version. What is it? Undead Redemption or whatever they call it, meets Assassin's Creed, which of course Assassin's Creed already has tons of Templars in it. They use it as a plot device, as part of their story. But this could be kind of like the two of them combined. So it's an open world sort of game. Where you travel around by ship across the Mediterranean. You're going to different lands, just like you go to different places in Assassin's Creed. But not quite as repetitive. Obviously, the second one was a bit better than the first, and everybody loves the third one. But it would be the same kind of thing where you're going around to different areas, and at the end of each area, once you complete a bunch of different missions, you acquire a new relic, which will give you more powers over the undead. And they could be different. Obviously, when you go to different areas, not everywhere you go has zombies in it. So you're communicating with real people. You actually have to fight some of the Knights Templar who have defected and become, I don't know, some kind of evil knight. I don't know what kind of name we could have for them, Knights of the Zombies or something like that. But anyway, obviously, I'm joking. That's a stupid name. But anyway, there could even be one, you get to one town and you're searching the whole place and you're putting these clues together, and you finally get to a point where you discover where the Master is, and you got him backed up into a corner, and he unleashes whatever relic he has, and it turns the entire town, the entire city into zombies. And so one of the missions is you actually have to fight your way out from the center of an entire zombie town. And then with the relics that you start acquiring along the way, they can be used for upgrades or different things like that. Like part of the One True Cross could be fitted into your bow to make your shots more accurate. Like every shot would stick him in the side or something like that, or like be like a dead-on shot to the heart. And then, if you have the Grail, that could give you more endurance, or like make you stronger, so then that way you can take more hits, like raise your HP. The Shroud of Turin, when you have the Shroud, if there's a low number of zombies around, they won't notice you unless you go right up to them. So if you get to an area like in the countryside and you come across like 3 or 4 zombies, they're not going to notice you're there unless you run right up to them. Obviously, if you're in a city where there's like 30 or 40 zombies, the Shroud of Turin's not going to be as effective, of course, because there's so many of them. They can obviously smell you right away. And then, of course, much later on in the game, like towards the end of the game, I don't know if it's the Ark or if it's the head of John the Baptist, but there's some kind of relic that it takes a while to charge up, but then when you pull it out, a large number of zombies, like in a certain area or a certain radius around you, would all be turned to stone or all burn up and burn up and evaporate or something. Some sort of weapon that can kill a ton of zombies all at once. But obviously you can't be using it all the time. You can't just be running around pulling the head of John the Baptist out whenever you feel like it. There's a certain reload time, let's say. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, obviously I don't have all the details hammered out. It's not a perfectly crafted game yet, but I feel like it's a good idea. I feel like we're going in the right direction. And of course, if you all have any ideas or comments, go ahead and leave them below. Talk amongst yourselves. Don't forget to like the video, obviously. And yeah, hopefully somebody who makes video games will watch this video, and we'll finally get our zombified Assassin's Creed one day. But anyway, until next time, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you later. Peace out.